What you do every single day matters far more than what you claim to believe, what you dream about, or what you say you're going to do. The truth is, your daily actions, your habits, are the real sculptors of your character. They carve away at who you used to be and slowly build the person you're becoming. Every decision, every behavior you repeat regularly becomes a brushstroke in the portrait of your identity. Over time, those strokes either create a masterpiece or a mess, and it's all determined by what you do consistently, not occasionally. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, and systems are built through habits. You can say you want to be disciplined, but if you hit the snooze button every morning, you're practicing procrastination. You can say you value health, but if you consistently choose junk food and inactivity, those are your real values in action. Character isn't found in the big speeches or the one-time heroic efforts. It's found in the small, invisible choices that stack up day after day. Those choices are what shape the patterns of your life. Think about brushing your teeth. It's a habit so ingrained that you barely think about it, yet it keeps your mouth clean, your teeth healthy, and prevents long-term damage. You don't brush your teeth once and expect perfection. You do it twice a day, every day, because it's part of who you are. Now imagine applying that same consistency to your mental habits. Imagine exercising your self-control, your courage, your resilience, your kindness, daily. That's how real change happens. That's how character is built, one repetition at a time. People often underestimate the power of small daily habits because the results aren't immediate, but that's exactly why they're so powerful. They're subtle, but over weeks, months, and years they compound. Reading 10 pages a day might not feel like much, but in a year, that's over 3,600 pages. A new mindset, a new way of thinking. Spending 15 minutes exercising doesn't feel heroic, but over time it rebuilds your body and your self-image. That's how the habits you adopt or neglect begin to shape not just your actions, but your identity. Your habits are more honest than your words. You can't fake who you are becoming. If you practice discipline, you become disciplined. If you practice laziness, you become lazy. If you practice kindness, you become kind. Your character doesn't change with a single event. It's slowly molded by repetition. The brain is a pattern-seeking machine. What you repeat becomes easier, more automatic, and eventually unconscious. This means your character, the way you show up in the world, is on autopilot most of the time, and you get to decide what that autopilot does. If your habits are poor, they sabotage your potential long before you realize it. Poor habits chip away at your confidence, your motivation, and your sense of self, and make you feel like you're stuck, like you're falling short, even when you don't know why. But when your habits align with your vision, when your actions match your values, something incredible happens. You start to trust yourself. You start to feel proud of who you are becoming. And that pride fuels even better behavior. It's a positive feedback loop, one that starts with a simple choice to act in alignment with your future self. There's a powerful quote that says, sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. That's not just a poetic idea. It's the structure of real personal growth that begins with what you do today, right now, this very moment. Because every action you take is not just something you're doing. It's someone you're becoming. It's someone you become. You are either reinforcing the character you want to be, or you're eroding it. This is why discipline matters. This is why showing up matters. Not because the result is immediate, but because the effect is permanent. The disciplined person you're building won't be constructed overnight, but every time you act in line with that identity. Skip enough days and you won't recognize the structure. Stay consistent, and you'll build something unshakable. So stop waiting for a huge transformation to define you. Stop believing that change only happens after massive action. Start looking at the little things, the way you speak to others, the way you manage your time, the way you respond to difficulty. These things matter. They matter more than you realize. Because in the end, it's not your dreams, your goals, or even your words that define you. It's your habits, repeated silently, faithfully, consistently, that shape your character and your life. The things you do over and over again are quietly etching themselves into the deepest parts of who you are. Repetition is the mechanism through which your character is forged. Most people assume character is something you're born with, like a genetic gift. But that's not true. Character is built. not in grand moments of decision, but in small acts repeated until they become automatic. The values you hold, the integrity you demonstrate, the patience you exercise, these are not things that appear overnight. They are learned, practiced, and reinforced through habits. Every time you act with integrity, you strengthen your ability to be honest. Every time you respond with patience, you train your mind to remain calm under pressure. Every time you show up even when you don't feel like it, you teach yourself reliability and mental toughness. Your habits are rehearsals, and what you rehearse becomes who you are. You don't just randomly become a disciplined person. You become disciplined by practicing discipline again and again until it feels natural. And the same is true in reverse. When you give in to shortcuts, when you lie to avoid discomfort, when you make excuses instead of owning your flaws, those behaviors shape you too. They become familiar, easier, more natural. Repetition builds comfort, and comfort builds identity. So if you constantly practice weakness, you become weak. If you repeatedly indulge in fear, you become afraid of your own potential. You start to shrink from challenges because you've rehearsed a version of yourself that runs instead of rises. The repetition of your action forms grooves in your mind, like water slowly carving through rock. The deeper those grooves become, the harder they are to change. That's why changing your habits feels so difficult, because your brain is following familiar. But that doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you must be intentional. You must disrupt the old grooves and begin carving new ones. Slowly, patiently, with full awareness that every repetition counts. Repetition also teaches your brain what matters. Your mind begins to associate repeated actions with identity. If you repeatedly prioritize learning, your brain begins to label you as someone who values knowledge. If you repeatedly run from responsibility, your brain labels you as someone who avoids accountability. Your identity isn't formed by what you think. It's formed by what you repeatedly do. The more often you act in a certain way, the more deeply it becomes part of your nature. This is why consistency is more powerful than intensity. You can have one great day, one intense workout, one burst of productivity, but if it's not repeated, it doesn't stick. Consistency wins because it forms patterns, and patterns become personality. Want to be someone who's kind? Practice kindness daily, even when no one's watching. Want to be someone who's strong under pressure? Rehearse calmness in small, stressful moments. Over time, you become what you rehearse. The truth is, your life is a reflection of your most practiced behaviors. Look at the areas where you thrive. There are good habits behind them. Look at the areas where you struggle. There are destructive habits reinforcing the pain. The question isn't whether or not you have habits. Everyone does. The real question is, which habits are you rehearsing, and what are they shaping you into? There's no neutral ground. Every habit either moves you closer to your ideal self or pulls you further away from it. Every repetition is a vote cast for the kind of character you're building. You're either reinforcing strength, discipline, integrity, or you're reinforcing weakness, avoidance, and self-deception. There's no in between. Your habits are shaping you, whether you're conscious of it or not. Character is not what you show the world when eyes are on you. It's what you do in the quiet, unguarded moments when no one else is around. That's where the real you lives. And that's where habits become more than just behaviors. They become the training ground for integrity. You don't build character in front of an audience. You build it when the spotlight is off, when applause is absent, when it's just you and the decision you're about to make. Your private habits reveal your true values. Do you cut corners when no one will know? Do you keep your promises to yourself when there's no reward? Do you stay committed to your standards when there's no praise? These are the decisions that define you far more than your public actions. Because in private, there's no one to impress. There's no one to perform for. It's just you and the honest reflection of your character being formed by your habits. What you repeatedly do when no one is watching becomes your baseline. If your baseline is honesty, you won't need to fake it in front of others. If your baseline is laziness, no motivational quote will change that unless you change your routines. True character doesn't need an audience. It's self-sustaining. And that sustainability comes from habits. Daily, sometimes boring, sometimes challenging habits that keep your values aligned with your actions. People often assume integrity is something you either have or don't. But the truth is, integrity is practiced. Just like a muscle, it grows stronger with use, Every time you make the right decision when it's hard, you strengthen your integrity. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build internal trust. And that internal trust is critical, because when you don't trust yourself, you begin to sabotage your own progress. Self-betrayal starts small. Skipping a workout you promised to do, breaking a deadline you set, lying to avoid discomfort. And the more often you do it, the more normal it feels. Eventually, you stop believing in your own words. You stop expecting yourself to follow through. That erosion of self-trust is how character breaks down, not all at once, but piece by piece, through neglected habits and quiet compromises. But when you train your integrity through good habits, you reverse that process. You build self-respect. You build a sense of inner strength. You start to believe that your word means something, not just to others, but to yourself. That belief becomes a powerful force. It helps you resist temptation. It helps you act with honor even when it costs you. And it helps you stand strong in the face of pressure because you're not acting, you're being. The greatest leaders, the strongest minds, the most respected individuals, they didn't become who they are by acting right when people were watching. They became who they are because they practiced right behavior when no one was watching. Their habits shape their integrity, and their integrity shaped their legacy. Good habits don't guarantee success, but bad habits almost always guarantee failure. That's a truth most people don't want to hear because it forces them to look inward. It demands accountability. You could have the right ideas, the right vision, even the right talent, but if you consistently repeat habits that weaken your drive, drain your energy, and sabotage your focus, you will fail long before your potential is ever realized. That's the brutal but necessary reality. Failure is often not an accident. It's not a thunderbolt that strikes from nowhere. It's a slow, silent consequence of small decisions repeated until they become your way of life. People search endlessly for secrets to success, the perfect morning routine, the right strategy, the magic mindset, but overlook the destructive power of simple, repeated neglect. Waking up late once won't destroy your dream, but do it 30 times and watch your opportunities evaporate. Skipping one workout won't ruin your health, but let it become a pattern, and suddenly your body reflects a life of avoidance. Ignoring one task won't cost you everything, but do it enough times, and procrastination becomes your identity. This is how failure is built, habit by habit, through invisible decisions that feel harmless in the moment, but accumulate into a life you no longer recognize. The difference between someone who succeeds and someone who doesn't is not always intelligence or luck. It's often consistency. It's the ability to align daily actions with long-term goals, to show up even when it's hard, and to say no to the habits that slowly eat away at your time, your self-respect, and your momentum. Success is influenced by many factors: timing, environment, opportunity. But your habits are the only part of that equation you can fully control. And if the habits are poor, none of the other ingredients matter. You can't outwork a lifestyle that constantly undermines itself. Imagine your life as a map. Every habit you form is a line drawn across that map. Each line might seem small, but over time, the pattern becomes your path. Some lines take you toward your vision. Others take you in circles or straight into dead ends. Bad habits are misleading. They promise comfort now in exchange for chaos later. But the comfort is shallow, and the chaos compounds. One more hour of mindless scrolling. One more skipped responsibility. One more avoidance of the uncomfortable conversation. Each one draws you further away from the life you say you want. The real tragedy is how easily bad habits can disguise themselves as harmless. They wear the mask of a just this once. They tell you it's okay to take it easy today. You'll get serious tomorrow. But tomorrow is a liar when your habits are lazy. And before long, you're not just someone who occasionally takes shortcuts. Shift in identity happens quietly, almost invisible. And it's only when the consequences show up that people ask, how did I get here? The answer is simple. You trained yourself, day by day, choice by choice, with bad habits leading the way. But here's the power hidden in this harsh truth. If bad habits can guarantee failure, then changing your habits gives you the power to reverse your direction. You may not be able to guarantee success, no one can, but you can eliminate a huge percentage of failure simply by removing the habits that are causing it. You can't control everything in life, but you can control what you repeat. And what you repeat is what you become. Every time you wake up on time, you reclaim discipline. Every time you stay focused instead of giving in to distraction, you reinforce your commitment. Every time you take responsibility instead of making excuses, you step into a new identity, one built on strength, not sabotage. It's not about perfection, it's about alignment. When your habits align with your vision, you gain momentum, and momentum creates possibility. It opens doors, it attracts opportunities. It helps you recognize the difference between what feels good now and what will feel right later. So no, good habits alone won't make you successful, but they are the foundation. They are the lines that lead you forward, the proof that you're serious, the actions that tell the world and yourself that you're not just dreaming, you're doing, you're becoming. And most of all, you're refusing to fail by default. Every habit is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Every choice you make, no matter how small, is a signal to your brain, a subtle declaration of identity. People often think of identity as something fixed, a label you were born with or something that magically appears after a life-changing event. But in truth, identity is built, brick by brick, choice by choice, repetition by repetition. And habits are the bricks. You are not who you say you are. You are what you do consistently. Your habits are not just actions. They are statements of belief, self-respect, and intention. They are quiet but powerful votes for the person you are becoming. Think about this deeply. When you wake up early and stick to your plan, that's not just productivity. That's a vote for being a disciplined, reliable individual. When you work out even though you didn't feel like it, that's not just physical health. That's a vote for being someone who honors commitment and values resilience. When you say no to distractions and focus on meaningful work, that's a vote for being someone who respects their time and purpose. These votes add up. One by one, they reinforce the kind of person you're growing into. But the same is true in the opposite direction. Every time you snooze your alarm and skip the morning you promised yourself, you're casting a vote for procrastination and inconsistency. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you send the message that your word has no weight. Every time you indulge in the path of least resistance, whether it's skipping the gym, avoiding that difficult conversation, or putting off your goals, you're reinforcing a version of you that prioritizes comfort over growth. These moments may seem small, but identity is not shaped in grand gestures. It's formed in the micro decisions. It's shaped by who you are when no one else is looking. And this is where many people get stuck. They wait to feel like the person they want to be before they act like them. But action creates identity, not the other way around. You don't need to believe in yourself fully before you take action. You take action, and through that repetition, you start to believe. You act like the kind of person you want to become. And with each repetition, you become more like them. This is not fake, it's growth, it's intentional evolution. The person you're becoming is being built right now, in this very moment, by the habits you choose to practice. Habits are evidence. If someone were to look at your life with no sound, just the actions on loop, what kind of person would they say you are? Would they see someone who values discipline, courage, self-respect? Or would they see someone stuck in distraction, avoidance, and fear? Your habits are leaving behind a trail of clues, and those clues don't lie. You can speak all the motivational words in the world. You can make all the vision boards and dream lists you want. But in the end, it's your daily actions, not your intentions, that are shaping your character. That's why this truth is so powerful. It means you're not stuck. You're not doomed to stay who you are. You have the ability to change, starting with a single vote. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to cast the next vote in favor of who you want to be, and then do it again and again. Momentum doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency. One healthy meal, one honest conversation, 1 hour of focused work, one moment of courage. These are the votes that change your story. It's also important to understand that no single habit defines you. You will slip. You will fall back into old patterns. That doesn't mean you've lost. What matters is what you do next. If you miss a day, cast a better vote tomorrow. If you fall, stand up and cast a vote for resilience. You're not building perfection. You're building character. And character is not built by never failing. It's built by refusing to quit. This process is lifelong. You're not building a mask. You're building a mirror. Your habits reflect who you are becoming. The question you have to ask yourself each day is, what kind of person am I voting for today? And when you look back after a year, 5 years, 10 years, you'll see that it wasn't one massive change that shaped your life. It was the accumulation of votes, daily, deliberate, small, that created a version of yourself you can be proud of. So if you want to change your life, don't start with outcomes. Start with habits. Start with casting votes again and again until the evidence of your actions is so strong you no longer question who you are. You already know. You've earned it. You've lived it. You've built it one vote at a time.